Good evening, everyone. All right, let me just correct a little bit the camera, and we are ready for the live. Yes. How's everyone? How are you all doing? In a few more seconds, officially we'll launch the show. Let me just. Right, so it's Monday. It's time for the late smoke, and this is me, Ray. This is episode 61. As usual, Monday will be an hour with nice talk and smoke and discussing all the stuff happening in the last week. Of course, as usual, there will be what I'm smoking, what we're drinking. The topic tonight will be some additional top 25s from different media outlets. I won't be concentrating on every single cigar in the top 25 or top 5 or top 10. It will be just the most important things from those outlets. And towards the end, of course, there will be the best and the worst smoke of the week. Apologies on this background noise, but it's very smoky in my lounge, so I need to put the purification on max, so I can have a clean air and be able to talk and without coughing and stuff like that. Good evening, Andre. So I've seen already a bunch of people joining the both channels. So we are live as of last week. We are live in two different medias. We're live in Instagram. We're live in YouTube as usual. So anyone wants to throw any questions, anything in the chat, feel free. I'm gonna keep monitoring both of them on my screens here. That's why I'm keep looking on my screen. Is not because I'm not. I don't know what to say or anything. It's just because I want to keep monitoring both chats and see how is the picture. I hope the sound is good. My mic is working. I've already tried. Right. Without further ado, what we're smoking today, as a first proper show of the year, without talking about my cigars and stuff like that, I choose Andalusian Bull. I mean, as you can see, it's already halfway through. I mean, it's a massive cigar. I can't just finish this cigar for an hour. This will be almost impossible. So that's why, let me just correct a little bit the phone. I just realized something. So, the Andalusian Bull, it's a iconic cigar in my opinion. Maybe not many people don't know this cigar. I haven't smoked a Bull in a good few years. It's a time to remember what was it, and also it's one of the cigars which, in my opinion, was fair to be number one in that year back in the time, almost 10 years ago. People who never smoke or haven't seen an Andalusian Bull, this is basically El Flor Dominicana cigar. Launched back in, I believe, 2016, 2015. Lito Gomez, basically in one of his travels to Spain, he saw a very old press for cigars, which he liked the shape. So it's a figurado with a very weird figurado. I mean, I don't think there's any other cigar which exists in this specific shape and vitola. 6.5 length, 50 to 54 ring gauge, depend where you measure. Even on the top is, I think, is even lower than that. The cigar itself is Ecuadorian Corojo and Dominican fillers and binders. One of the longest smokes probably on the market. So far, I started this cigar at 6:30. It's pretty much halfway, literally to the band. So 6:30, it's already hour and a half. I'm pretty much halfway. I've always said this cigar should be at least 2.5 hours. if you can smoke it for 3.5, it's even better. But minimum, it's in my opinion should be 2.5 hours. All right. Already somebody asked me a question in the Instagram. Do I have a favorite drink pairing, alcohol, non-alcoholic? My favorite. I don't have one type of pairing. One specific pairing which I will pair all the time. I pair sometimes with alcohol, sometimes with non-alcohol. I don't usually drink coffee. My preferable choice of beverage, non-alcoholic beverage, that's tea. I have a nice cup of tea next to me, of course, as every Monday. Tonight pairing with the bull. This is wakucha, Japanese black tea, which is the interesting thing about this tea. It's not a typical black tea. It's not that strong as usual black teas. It's even lighter on color. It's a Japanese black teas are usually not. That's one of the characteristics. They're not super strong. They're not very dark and musky. They're more floral, sweeter, and that's what I want to pair with my cigar tonight. The burn on the cigar is not perfect, as you can see. I don't know if you can see on the cameras. It's a bit wavy. I haven't touched a lighter yet, so it's okay, but it's not a perfect. I don't remember smoking this cigar and having a perfect line of burn, literally after the first inch or so. I usually always have some imperfections at some point, but I guess it's pretty typical for the size, for the Vitola. Right, so that's what I'm smoking, that's what I'm drinking. Let me know if any of you smoking, if any of you drinking with me tonight. What's your beverage, or what's your cigar for the night? And in the meantime, it's time, I think, to start with the first usual section of the show, and this is the news. What's happening in the last week and a half. There's a bunch of new releases which I wanna talk about. So one of them is literally a few days ago there was an announcement that Liga Privada releasing a new Liga Privada H99 Connecticut Corojo in a box press cigar, which will be exclusive for one of the American shops, one of the American chains. But the interesting thing here, why I want to mention it, I mean, Liga Privada in a box press, this is super interesting. I think that would change the cigar completely. Obviously, I haven't smoked this one. I think they haven't been released yet. They just announced it. But this H99, it's not my personal favorite Liga Privada. I've smoked one last year or year before. For me, it was a little bit blunt, a little bit too mild for Liga. But I guess it's a completely different blend, slightly more expensive than some of the others. I'm very curious to see the new box press now, 6x50, beautiful size. Drew Estate have history making that kind of size cigars. I mean, Herrera, Esteli, Norteño have literally the same size, 6x50, and so on. There's so many cigars Drew Estate producing this size, but not in the Liga line. That would be interesting to see. Let's hope if it's successful, maybe they'll launch in different sizes, and not only exclusive for specific shops. That will be launched also as a official release. My cigar is almost die. I was keep talking and didn't smoke, so I need to puff a few more times quickly so I can. There we go. We are back to the smoke machine. Right, the next release, which is kind of interesting. Okay. The gentleman who asked me the question now says he had to leave at Serie V Lancero with Glenmorangie 12. Okay, that's an interesting option. I can see why it's working. Oliva V Lancero, in my opinion, is probably the best V series. All the Oliva Vs, the Lancero is significantly better, in my opinion, than the others. All the others taste a little bit sour, in my opinion. Glenmorangie 12, honestly, I haven't drank Glenmorangie 12 in years. I've always, when I pick a Glenmorangie, I've always go for the 14 or 16. They're pretty much similar price, but 14 is very port finished, very sweet, very tangy, and the 16, I don't think the 16 exists anymore. I think they changed the name. It used to be Glenmorangie 16 Nectar Dior. I think now it's only Nectar Dior. They removed the 16, no age statement. So, but the 12 never been in my rotation a lot. I've always, for some reason, I don't know, picked the others. Maybe they suit more palate more, but I can see that. I mean, Glenmorangie is a very unified whiskey, if I can call it that way. Especially 12, 14, none of the super heavy, old and expensive stuff. They pair well with most of the stuff. It's a very citrusy style whiskey. And there we go. I need to relight my cigar. In the meantime, the next release, the next piece of news, the company called Kingmakers announced a new release, and this will be a Playboy collaboration. Kingmakers is a company which I've mentioned a bunch of times before in the show. They're the company which produces cigars with a few basketball players, few interesting collaborations with different people, and now they also doing interesting collaboration this time with the Playboy magazine, which, to be honest, is not the same Playboy as years ago, as decades ago, where Playboy was the institution. Now it's more dying institution. I don't see Playboy having the glory used to have in the 80s, in the 70s, in the 80s, in the 90s. Maybe this collaboration might help Playboy a little bit. Playboy used to do a few other cigars. I remember smoking a Don Thomas Playboy, very interesting looking cigar. Band cigar wasn't nothing special. It was very mild Connecticut style cigar. I think I smoked my last one a couple of years ago. After that, they released their own cigar, Playboy. I'm not sure who make the Playboy only, so probably some of the STG or some of those big corporations out of this. But both of them, there wasn't anything special. It was just the branding on the name. And now Kingmakers announced the new version of that one. The box look very cool, actually. Even if you wanna, you can Google the Playboy Kingmaker cigar. You see the box is full of some of the most iconic Playboy covers, which is in the inside. In the box, on the outside part of the box is very stylish black lacquer with the rabbit, of course, with the rabbit's ears. So that will be an interesting thing. And also another good fact here: the cigar is announced only for $12. I mean, Kingsmaker's already. This will be probably the cheapest cigar. All the cigars they were producing before that, they were announced as more expensive cigars, and this will be $12, 6x54, big chunky Toro. So people who like that kind of cigars, so why not? Cigars is made in Nicaragua on this close factory, using Ecuadorian Habano Criollo wrapper, Nicaraguan filler and binder. But it will be definitely super interesting to see what's going to happen with this cigar. Right. And where we are. Bunch of people joining the YouTube. Andrew, Epicurean. Hey, gent, how you doing? How's the situation? How's the weather? Snow. It was quite bad with us last week, but now it's getting back on the typical English weather with lots of rain and not that cold weather. Okay, next, move on. So there will be no more releases today. There was a bunch of other stuff, but I don't think, of course, I don't mention every single release. I just mention what's interesting. But the next piece of news is something which is very interesting, and it's kind of something we start commenting and we start talking about maybe 5-6 months ago. And the piece of news is basically the gentleman Chen Zi, who is one of the co-owners of Habanos, finally being found and arrested and deported to China. as this news, I mean, without getting way too political and anything, it's the question is now what they're gonna do with his part of Habanos and whatever brands he owns. Are they gonna confiscate them and take them off him, or they gonna sell his parts to other people? I mean, there was a rumor which I write about in the website months ago that basically the three people who own 50% of the Habanos, two of them sold out their shares to um, other people, and the only person which still held his share was this gentleman called Chen Zi. Um, maybe he already sold his share without being public, or maybe this will happen anytime soon. I'll be interesting to see if actually China, as a government, take every asset he have and they become partially owner of Habanos, which will be fun to see. But also there was the big question here was how this will affect Cuba, because also um, the American president make a quite a funny post recently that he will go after Cuba now. Already a bunch of people asked me, hey, what do you think will change in Cuba if Trump decide to go and take over the same situation as Venezuela? Um, I don't know. We can speculate here. There's lots of different ways where this can go. It can go in. I mean, it can go in a better way. It can go in a worse way. It's lots of possibilities. I've already discussed that with a bunch of people. It will be very very interesting to see what's going to happen because I don't think it can go much worse for Cuba. But I also don't see how this can go much better for Cuba. I mean, even if they invest lots of millions into the Cuban economy, if they remove the embargo, which I doubt will happen anytime soon, I still don't see how that will benefit Cuban cigars. Maybe people say, "Oh, the quality will be better," but the problem with the quality, in my opinion, is that they rush the product, and because the demand is huge, and they still make their money, they still make their millions in profit. So that's why they don't bother to wait the cigar maybe a little bit longer, maybe roll them better without rushing, maybe train the right people to roll the cigars instead of use only whatever they can find. It's lots of but and what can happen. I mean, it's a fair point. In Instagram, there's a question about the shortages potentially. No oil, no power, no production. I mean, there's a shortage even now. I mean, what's what much bigger shortage than now? I mean, now if you go in lots of European countries, they don't have Cuban cigars. They literally the supply is so little, and maybe if they stop producing, actually I think that might benefit the cigars. I always said what Cuba needs to have perfect cigar, because they have good cigars now, but very often some of those cigars doesn't roll, doesn't smoke, or too ammonia, too rushed, unfermented, etc., etc. And when you have a good Cuban cigar, it's very good. I mean, I've never said, I prefer non-Cuban cigars for many reasons, but when a Cuban is good, you can't argue that. And I've always had the idea that would be super interesting if Cuba decide, let's say, theoretically, of course, we're not going to produce any cigar for the next year. So 1 year we're not producing cigars. And after 1 year, we will start producing. So they will backlog all the tobacco and everything, so they can properly ferment it, they can properly age it, they can properly roll it and train people and everything. And after 1 year, they restart the whole production. I think then the Cuban cigars will be much better. But of course, it doesn't sound like that will happen, because what they're gonna do with those people who need to work and everything, and even if they pay bare minimum, they still pay some money to the people, and leaving those people without work for a year, that would be catastrophic. So, but it will be super interesting, in my opinion, to see if that can happen. 1 year without Cuba rolling any cigars. After 1 year, they came back and they will be much, much better, in my opinion. But this is also in the big theories. Not a conspiration theory, not a just an idea I have for ages. Um, okay, there's an interesting comment that some of the younger Cuban cigars actually are very good. Not sure if they change or meant anything in the production. I don't think they change or meant anything. Um, maybe the tobacco they were having, they fermented better, they aged better. I've also in the last 2 or 3 years, I think the production is significantly better than the 5-6 years before that. There's not that many plugged cigars or tight draw. There's a much construction wise better cigars. Okay, the fermentation and the ammonia, it's still there in some cigars, but not as many as before. Maybe they sort something in the factories. Maybe they decide to hold on a little bit more and then release the stuff. Who knows? And with those prices, they should be doing it. I mean, it's if you pay super expensive, price for some of the Cuban cigars, they should be perfect. Right, that was the news section for the week, and it's time for to start with the topics for tonight. As I promised, there will be a few different magazines and medias where I'm going to talk about the top 25. I'm going to try to analyze what I'm thinking and what's my opinion on that. Of course, there won't be every media on the market. There's a bunch of people who I think are very popular, especially in the US. I want to see what's their opinion, what they're smoking, how much is that influenced by obviously the people who sponsor them, and etc. etc. But yeah, so there will be 3 different medias, and there will be a few more next week for sure, because there's still not everyone has released their final top ranking cigars. So we're gonna start with one of the most fun and interesting media, and this is the Cigar Press. I'm a huge fan of those guys' rankings. For me, they're very heavy into the deep and boutique cigars, where not a lot of people smoke and research for various reasons. I haven't seen lots of review on those boutique still, because those boutique cigars, they probably doesn't send that many cigars and free swag and everything to those reviewers. They just release cigars, and if you want to review their cigar, you need to buy it and smoke it. But Cigar Press, they do top 20. So I'm gonna briefly mention only if anything is interesting until the top 5, and then we're gonna stop on the top 5. So on their ranking, there's a one cigar which is in my ranking as well. This is the Foundation, the Wiseman Lancero Maduro. That's the number 18. I completely agree with those guys. For me, this is significant, phenomenal cigar. It was in my top 10. They've had usual stuff like Atabey and My Father and Crown Heads, of course. Davidoff is here as a chef edition. Tatuaje, the new Tatuaje Corojo, Aging Room, Plasencia Alma del Cielo, which I've discussed before. I don't think this cigar is completely ready to go live. They had some cigars like Emilio and Postanie, which big fan of both of them. But let's start with the number 5. Number 5, Tatuaje 7th Tuxla. Interesting choice for Tatuaje to get into that ranking. The Tuxla is one of those blends where I don't see lots of people appreciate as much as they should. Tuxla was a project a couple of years ago for Tatuaje. They literally added Tuxla, the San Andres wrapper, to lots of their blends, converted to Tuxla. And yeah, I think they deserve much more love than what they have. Number 4, it's La Aurora Family Creed Fuerte del Sol. So this cigar, I was mentioning it already before. I haven't smoked the cigar. It's a new cigar for me, but I've seen it in every single ranking on any magazine, any media. So that would be super cool next week or week after, when the half will release the consensus, I want to see where will be this cigar. I think this cigar will be pretty high because every single media so far I've seen it, they have it, they are it. And again, from La Aurora to have a cigar which is everyone ranked in put in top 5 or top 10 is super cool. I'm very, very curious on this cigar, and this will be probably one of my goals to find this cigar this year and smoke it and see is actually the hype there. So number 3, that's the Espinosa Knuckle Sandwich Puro. One of the Guy Fieri knuckle sandwiches. I'm gonna mix the reviews on those ones. Some of those knuckle sandwiches, they were very good. Some of the others were just alright. Maybe the examples those guys smoke are really decent. I haven't smoked this specific one, the Puro. Can't comment much on that one, but again, pretty interesting to see that cigar that high. Number 2, Dumbarton Umbagog Bronzeback Robusto. Another cigar which I didn't rate that high. Maybe the Bronzeback I smoked wasn't that interesting in my opinion. I think Dumbarton do some phenomenal cigars, not exactly the Bronzeback, but again, maybe for those guys this was the one which worked best. Number 1, Illusione Epernay Tuonela Le Monde. That's an interesting cigar, but I think they might be a little bit too biased here. So Fred, the guy who, one of the reviewers in the company, he was very, I think he used to work for Illusione for a big chunk of time, big period of time. Illusione make phenomenal cigars. Epernay, it's one of those blends where if you haven't smoked Illusione Epernay, just go and grab some. They're not expensive. I think they're sub $10-12. I'm big fan of the Lancero. They rebrand now the cigars with the different bands, but the blend is apparently the same. So made in Honduras, I believe in Races Cubanas. San Andres wrapper, and the cigar is not strong as its look. But definitely should be in the high rankings. It's a good cigar. But I think those guys are a little bit biased towards who they work with and that kind of stuff. That's the analyzed. That's the analyzed top 20 of the Cigar Press magazine. Yeah, sometimes the words just doesn't come to my mind. Anyway, where we are, and how is the chat? There we go. Epicurean, of course, appreciate every comments, brother. Just to go back on the comments, Epicurean says the Knuckle Sandwich 57 was much better than the Puro. I agree with you. I prefer the 57 as well. Bronzeback is fine, but not top tier. Completely agree. Tuonela is definitely downgrade from the original Epernay blend. Okay, how Epicurean, if you can jump in there, how different is the Tuonela blend from the original? Because I haven't smoked the Tuonela. I thought it's the same blend. But yeah. Andres says people call my list bias as well. Well, yes. All right, on the Instagram, Alizad. Hey, how are you going, brother? Do these rankings include the price value of the cigar of product alone? Yes. Specifically, the cigar press, they have the price of the cigar. So the Illusione, the cigar which number 1, they mention MSRP $12.90, so $13. Of course, most of those cigars are not super expensive. If I need to see at the top 5, maybe Dumbarton will be the most expensive one from this. Dumbarton is actually $10.50. I thought it's more expensive. La Aurora, it's this fancy La Aurora family Creed Robusto. That's about $15. So none of those are super expensive. Obviously, in the top 20, The most expensive cigar they have in the top 20, Davidoff Chef's Edition, the 2025. That's an expensive one. That's $55, and this is on number 12. And Atabey, I think they have some Atabey Black Ritus. That will be $55 as well. But it's good to see, in the top 3 or top 5 cigars which are under $20. So I reckon it's a pretty decent rank. Right. Move on to the next magazine, and this is the guys from Cigar Snob. Cigar Snob, another magazine which is, I usually don't spend too much time looking there, but at the end of the year I've always looked at the top 5 or top 10. So they did the top 25. The top 25, as the previous 2 examples, I will just mention some of the lower numbers if they're interesting. They have Ladino Corojo. They have Gurkha, the classic Havana seed. I mean, I'm always curious when somebody adds Gurkha in their ranking. I mean, is it that good actually, or just being sponsored by Gurkha? They have Diamond Crown Tampa. I think Andre was keen on that cigar as well. Expensive one, $30. FSG, Cavalier, Fuente, Illusione, HVC, typical cigars which are usually in the rankings. They also have La Aurora Family Creed Fuerte Sol. That's their number 15. They have the Nickel Sandwich Puro, number 14. So 2 of those cigars we already mentioned in the other ranking. They were here. As every year, those guys had Olivia Melanio. This time they had V Melanio Maduro. I think the one half will actually Cigar Aficionado actually had in their ranking. No, a cigar which I'm a big fan. Also Alma del Cielo is here. Rocky Patel Emerald. Those are probably the cigars which are everyone picking in the rankings. But let's concentrate on the top 5. So number 5, Padron 1926 Maduro. They have the Robusto size here. I mean, it's a cigar which doesn't need to introduction, doesn't need to analyze. I believe it's a phenomenal cigar. It's a beautiful cigar. They say MSRP $17.90. I think it's slightly more. Very rarely, probably you can find it for $17. But at least it's the Maduro. It's not the natural. Number 4, La Roma de Cuba Reserva. That's another cigar where lots of people mentioning in the recent weeks, recent months. I haven't smoked this one, but usually La Roma, most of the La Roma de Cuba, I think they're pretty decent cigars. So this will be one definitely to go and see what is it. Number 3, Olmec Claro Double Corona. It's a cigar I smoked literally 2 weeks ago. It's in my reviews as well. It's a very decent cigar from Foundation. I didn't score my that high this time because there was some issues, but in general, the Olmec Natural or the Claro, significantly better in my opinion than the Maduro, even if I'm a guy who prefer Maduro cigars in general. But this specific one, good cigar. Number 2, that's the Ganosa Leaf, Rare Leaf, Reserva Maduro. I mean, this is phenomenal cigars in my opinion. Last year, this was my number 2. I love this cigar. Unfortunately, I don't have any of it. I would be very happy if I can smoke some more of those ones. But yeah, it's hands down for that choice. It's a great cigar. And their best cigar of the year, number 1, that's My Father Blue. So the size they smoke is a total 6x54. This was in pretty much every ranking at the moment. The Honduran cigar from My Father. I haven't smoked it yet. I know some people say it's already been released for a long period of time, but mixed reviews on that one. So many people so far. Some of the people are very keen on it. Some of the people are just another release from My Father. Nothing too spectacular, but definitely something I need to jump in and see how it smokes. It will be one of the cigars for this year, maybe if I can source some. Right, Epicurean mentioned some stuff in the chat that the Tionella is a new blend. Mexican San Andres wrapper instead of a Café Rosado. Original is the Tapsa Nicaraguan production. This one is the Races Cubanas in Honduras. Okay, completely different blend then. So I'm not sure why you keep them as a Epernay then. It should be completely different blend, not an Epernay. But again, that's completely only my opinion. Right, this was the ranking from the Cigar Snob. Interesting cigars in the chat. Of course, they didn't have any Cuban cigars. Even if those guys are pretty, I mean, as a magazine, I think you should have some Cuban cigars. Don't exclude them. I know it's not easy in the US to get the Cuban cigars, but don't exclude them. Right. Cigar Coop. Next one. Cigar Coop is the guy who do a crazy ranking with 30 cigars. He releases them every day, cigar by cigar. Lots of different stuff in there. I mean, in his ranking, what I'm going to mention before the top 5, you have El Pulpo Octo Ocho, a cigar which I think is one of the best smokes in the market at the moment. My number 1 for 2025. They have it as number 26. First ranking actually I've seen in someone to add it in the top cigars, which is a shame. Should be much more. Number 25 is a Black Label Orthodox Toro, phenomenal cigar. Last year was in my top 5, I believe. Few others, the Viva La Vida Connecticut, so that's another Artisanal del Tobacco cigar. Beautiful stuff. They of course have he had a very interesting tatuaje actually, La Riqueza 2004, the Tuxtla Cazadores. I haven't smoked this one, but definitely is not something I've seen in lots of ranking, lots of different top 25. So super cool to see anything like that. As usual, a bunch of them Bartons, a few other black labels, Aladino, of course Tatuaje, 10th anniversary Bel Anchor, Tuxtla. Great cigar. Great cigar. Unfortunately, I smoked my last one. And now to the top 5. So number 5 is actually a super unknown cigar for me. This is Domaine Entropy Robusto. Honestly, I don't know what's this cigar. I haven't seen this cigar. Even the size is a weird Gordo 5x56. Broadleaf wrapper. Sounds interesting, but I need to research this cigar and see how that get into the number 5. Number 4, HIP 180th anniversary Churchill. I can skip that one. Number 3, Aladino Cameron Reserva. That's a very good cigar actually, and having it that high, hands down for Coop. Number 2, the Tabernacle Night Commander. Those are usually good. I have some issues with the construction of the Night Commander. I smoked 2 of them. They're not that consistent as they to be in the top rankings. And number 1, without any surprise here, it's Perdomo Legacy, the Shade Grown. I mean, we know, at least people who follow Coop and the stuff he do. He is sponsored by Perdomo. Last year Perdomo was number 1, the 30th anniversary. This year is the Legacy. I mean, I reckon it's pretty biased ranking. Again, there's some very cool, interesting cigars in the ranking, but having 2 years in a row Perdomo, and Perdomo have banner behind you on every live show, it's pretty much whatever they paid for it. So they have the cigars in the rankings. I haven't smoked the Legacy. Maybe it's a good cigar again, but for me it just looked too obvious, too biased. The 30th anniversary he smoked last year, and it was the best cigar he smoked. I smoked all the 3 different 30th anniversary this year. None of them was good as the 20th. I mean, I'm still on opinion that the Perdomo's best cigar at 20th anniversary, Sun-Grown Maduro. The 12th barrel aged, that's phenomenal smoke. I think he stopped making them now. Maybe he will stop. I don't know. That's what I heard. Right, on the chat section, I've got greetings from Dubai. Hey, how are you doing, guys? Right, Andre, what's your questions towards? Why not exclude them if they don't make a top scoring points? Um, was that towards some of the coup rankings or? Cuban cigars? Yeah, but okay, this is now the conversations where it can get fun. I mean, if the Cuban cigar doesn't make the top scores, yeah, exclude them. Don't have them. I completely agree. If there's no good Cuban cigars, don't do it. But somehow I don't believe they, as a media or magazine, they haven't smoked at least one very good Cuban cigar. I mean, this is some. Again, I smoke predominantly non-Cuban, but I still have Cubans in my top scorings. Some of the Cubans I smoke, they're phenomenal. Not often, but there's there. And if they haven't smoked a single good Cuban cigar, maybe they should make a post. Maybe they should put a disclaimer. Hey guys, we smoke Cuban cigars, but unfortunately, none of the Cubans deserve to be in our top 25 or whatever the number. So again, I don't know. It's with the Cuban cigars. I know it's an American media, but still, don't exclude them. And those guys, I met them in Dortmund. They travel. They're not like uh, don't go out of the US or we don't touch those cigars. This it shouldn't. I mean, I I'm firm believers nobody should exclude the Cubans or opposite. If someone do a Cuban ranking, there should be a non-Cuban cigars in his ranking. We need to stop separating all the time. Oh, Cubans, I don't smoke Cubans. They not be in my rank. Oh, I don't smoke non-Cubans. They shouldn't be in my ranks. No, it's all together. It's a beautiful product. If it's a good cigar, it's a good cigar. So Halfwheel will probably do the consensus in some point in the next week or so. Will be very interesting to see the collective media rankings in the consensus. See which cigars. So far, from all the rankings I've read and I discussed and analyzed, there's a few cigars which I think will be pretty much high in the consensus. At least everyone mentioned it. This specific La Aurora, of course, my father, the blue one, the Honduran one, that's pretty high in lots of rankings. Looks like Nickel Duster will be one of the cigars where lots of people are talking. The Chef's edition of Davidoff is pretty high in lots of rankings. Um, so will be interesting to see that. And because I'm keep talking non-stop, my cigar just dying again and again. Hey, what's up, Cigar Aficionado UK? The consensus gets released next Monday. Right, so the cigar consensus uh, will be released next Monday. Maybe if I have time, I will talk about the consensus. This will be one of one of the final shows for the top 25, so the top cigars for 2025. If I don't have time next week, depend what time they will release it, I will probably talk about the consensus the week after, and this will be the final show for the top ranking cigars. There's a few other magazines and media which haven't released the top scoring. So the Cigar Dojo, the Smoking Tobacco, and of course the Cigar Journal. Those are the medias which haven't released their top 25 yet. Some of them have partially released stuff, but not full rankings. Definitely, I want to talk about them. Right, Cigar Chronicle. Have I smoked Lampert cigar? In his opinion, Limitada 25 and the Ocean Breeze are great cigars. The only Lampert cigars I smoke, I think they're 1845. I believe that was the line. I haven't smoked lots of Lampert, to be honest. I know Stefan personally, it's a great guy, but I just haven't smoked lots of his cigars. And I definitely haven't smoked the Limitada 2025 and the Ocean Breeze. So if I manage to get some of them, I'll definitely smoke them and tell you my opinion. Right, we are on the time of the show where I need to tell you what's the worst and what's the best cigar I've had since the last week episode. So we're gonna start with the worst one. It was actually the cigar I smoked 3 hours ago. The worst cigar I smoked this week. This was Rebellion Paradise City. Um, Unfortunately, this is a cigar which I don't want to smoke again. Um, I doubt will be one of problem. It was just one of the worst cigars I smoke. I will write a review about it tomorrow probably in the website. Um, Unfortunately, it's not a. It was every. I mean, the cigar itself was so bitter, unsmokable, harsh. I need to relight it like 10 times, especially the first half. Need constant relighting. After that, the relighting was fine. So maybe they passed the place where there was issues, but the taste and it was bitter and it was just not much of a smokable. Right. Have I tried any Fabrica 5 Bond Robber cigars? So I've tried only one Bond Robber cigar. That was the first release they did, like a big chunky double Corona. I forgot about the name. I can check the name, but that was the first release they did. I'm not sure if that was Fabrica 5. But that was a very good cigar. So I did a review on the website. If you want to have a look on the website, Bond Roberts, the full name, again, you can check it on the website. And for me, was 10 out of 10, one of the very good cigars I smoke in the year. The one interesting thing about this cigar, in my opinion, this is one of the mildest cigars I've ever smoked. I can't believe how mild was this cigar. It was super tasty, flavors, everything, but so mild, it's just like you don't smoke tobacco. It was super interesting. Definitely, I want to try some of the other blends. I know they released 2 other cigars, I think, now. So Cigar Aficionado UK. There was a post this week on what's a great budget smoke for January pockets, like a 15 or under stick. Don't say Regius or Aladino. So Aladino is actually not a bad shout. I mean, Regius, I wouldn't put it out there. I'm not massive big fan of all the Regius, but Aladino, if you want a light and mild Connecticut, their Connecticut is decent. I think it's slightly over £15. So if you want under 15 pounds, Cavalier is one of the very good options in UK. I mean, I reckon if you talk about the UK, so Cavalier did I think the Lancero on the Cavalier is under 15 pounds. The black or the white, they're both very good. Roma Craft, if you look at the Havana House page, Roma Craft, a bunch of Roma Crafts are there. I think the Whiskey Rebellion Intemperance is something like $10, 10 pounds, 11 pounds. Those are fantastic smokes. Even if you want to say something a little bit stronger, the Cro-Magnon is something like 13, 14 pounds. Great cigar as well. What else? Under 15. It's a tough budget. I think Perua del Mar PDM of JC Newman is around that price. It's a great smoke as well for the money. Brick House can be an option, a little bit peppery, but if you don't mind peppery, Brick House is also an option. JC Newman as well. Probably those will be top of my head without browsing and see what's in the country at the moment, what's everyone selling, what's on offer. I haven't browsed UK prices in ages, so I don't know. Right, Andre says Bond Roberts Linnea D number 6 Petit 109 was made in Fabrica 5. So, okay, again, I don't. They changed few times factories and stuff, so I wasn't sure on that one. The Ocean Breeze was made to mimic H. Upmann Magnum 54. Okay. Actually, this is the only Magnum I enjoyed, the 54. Even if 46 is better size in my opinion. And the 54 was much enjoyable cigar. But I haven't smoked Magnums in ages. It's not my go-to Cuban cigars as usually. H. Upmann is somehow not my preferable brand. And I know lots of people probably now will jump in and say, "Hey, H. Chapman is phenomenal." It is for some people, but usually never worked for me. The only Chapman I enjoyed truly, and I don't mind smoking again, this was the Connie B. But Connie B is not a cheap cigar and it's not easy to find. So there we go, a problem. Right. What was the best cigar I smoked this year? This is no second opinion here. The best smoke I have during the last week until today, this was a Liga Privada number 9. Drew Estate Liga Privada number 9 in Toro. Cigar which I haven't smoked in a good few years as well. And I've always liked those. There was a few occasions in the past where sometimes they have issues on burn. But this one, literally the whole cigar was perfect until one point the cigar needed the lighting. They just died. It's not like I left it to die. I even didn't do anything else but smoking and just concentrating on my stuff. But yeah, this was the only issue on this cigar. And I've always said Liga Privada number 9 is probably one of the best cigars ever made. By far the best Drew Estate in my opinion, with L40, both of them, L40 and number 9, great cigars. Even if they started those lines 20 years ago probably. I don't know, when was the first Liga 9 produced? Maybe 2006, 7, 6, 7, something like that. But it's a great cigar. I want to do a review on the cigar. That's why I smoke it. I want to add it to. I did a review on L40. I did a review on T52, and now the number 9. Number 9 is still great. Right. I've seen a bunch of other people joining the lives and the chats. So today won't be a very long episode. You can see there's not much of a. I go through all the cigars and the rankings I want to mention. I go through all the different magazines I've already prepared to talk about. So next week, as usual, the episode will be at the same time, 8 p.m. The topic for the next week most likely will be I will continue analyzing the top 25s, the few other outlets and magazines which will release their stuff. Hopefully the consensus will be released earlier so I can talk about it. If not, will be a week after. In the meantime, you know the drill. You can comment, you can like, you can send me messages with anything you want to hear, you want to see. There's a bunch of interesting topics coming on the website. I'm already working on a few other different articles regarding some top 20, some stuff on the overall discussion on the 2025, budget cigars, what we to look after, what was the interesting smokes during 2025, interesting releases and stuff. As usual, January for me it's that kind of month when I just analyze everything, what's happened during the year, what was interesting, what was fun, what was worth mentioning. Cigar Aficionado UK, see you in Halifax, but well, I still don't know if I'm going to be on Halifax the next one. True and true moments. The only thing from Alta that you enjoy was Aging Room La Boheme. That was actually interesting release. I haven't smoked this one, the La Boheme. I mentioned it a few times in a different stuff. I haven't smoked it. I think Altadis have some releases, especially on the non-Cuban brands, when they're made by AJ Fernandez. I've mentioned it a number of times. When AJ Fernandez make a blend for Altadis, usually is decent. But yeah, in general, I'm not a massive fan of everything Altadis release. But again, it's a big corporation. They produce a lot of different cigars. Right, I think is almost an hour into the show. Any last comments? Any last anything? You have like 3 or 4 minutes until we'll finish the show. So, as usual, there was lots of interesting comments on the both chats. I keep with the both chats. I keep looking at my screen. I don't look at that often in the camera, but when it's a one-man show, I need to do lots of different stuff and make sure everything is smooth and working fine. Um, but yeah, uh, so far so good. Instagram's working, YouTube's working, so I reckon this will be the way I'm gonna keep doing those shows. From we started last week on both channels, and next week will be the same. 8 p.m. Monday was the date 19th of January, as usual. I hope I'll see you all jumping in the chat. Give me the comments, leave me the fun stuff, the fun facts, the stuff I don't know. Be active, and in the meantime, the drill. Just smoke your cigars. Tomorrow's never given, especially with some political people which just doing weird stuff all the time. Who knows what's gonna happen tomorrow? In the meantime, I'll leave you. I'll finish my Andalusian brew, which not massively impressed, to be honest, after the second half. Maybe because of the live, I keep talking lots and lots and lots, and I need to relight it and didn't perform the way I used to know those. But who knows? Maybe the next one will be better. Right, on this note, I wish you a wonderful week. Wherever you are, don't do stupid things. And I'll see you all next week, Monday, 8 p.m., The Late Smoke with me, Ray. Good night, guys.